This is Bob Bakert with Jazz Guitar Today, and I'm very excited to be joined today by Sam Skelton, who is the Director of Jazz Studies at Kennesaw State University, Tyrone Jackson, who was a senior lecturer in charge of the piano studies at Kennesaw, and Trey Wright, who is the guitar guru at Kennesaw State University. And the interesting thing for me about this is I've actually taken lessons with two of the three, and I was schooled by Sam on stage. So I do know you guys. One of the things that we do here at Jazz Guitar Today, we've got a pretty serious initiative to shine the light on jazz education around the country. You'll be seeing in the next couple of weeks, you'll be seeing articles on 6 universities and programs that are headed up by women. Beth Marlis from Musicians Institute in LA has put that together. We've got Sharon Ibsen and other people involved. And that all comes from when I was a student at Georgia State University, and I realized that these programs are exciting, they're dynamic, they are important, and very few people outside of a small group really know much about what's going on. So with that being said, Kennesaw State University is for those of you around the world, because we have people all over the place, Kennesaw is a town about 20 miles to the northwest, 15 to 20 miles to the northwest of Atlanta, Georgia. And Kennesaw State University is a school that was started, I think, in 1963. And I've just watched it since I've been here since the 70s grow from a very, very small campus to they had the largest incoming freshman class in the state of Georgia. And we've got a couple of big universities here in the state of Georgia, in case you weren't sure. So it's a really proud program. I spent some time working with the president of the company, president of the school back a few years ago on some kind of hush-hush, secret stuff. And I was absolutely impressed, to say the least. So with these guys, I know all 3 of them. They're magnificent musicians, each and every one of them, highly regarded and highly respected by their peers literally all over the world. I'm very excited to be talking with them today. And the breadth of this is about how you guys are handling everything you're doing, dealing with the whole COVID situation. And I'm just going to let you guys sort of jump off after that introduction. So have at it, gentlemen.
Okay, well, I'll start just by kind of giving you an idea of how we came up with the modality that I'm going to describe to you. Obviously, March 13th, the public music making world came to a screeching halt. And what that left us with is it left us, number one, with our faculty having to finish up a semester with kids that, quarantined in their room. And we had to come up with content so fast. Really, the only thing we could do was do listening assignments and writing assignments. And that's really the last thing you want to ask a student in a performing ensemble to do. And some of the feedback I was getting from some of my students was like, well, if we're going to do this in the fall, I'm not going to come back until we're back live face to face. And, from a monetary thing, I mean, that impacts tuition dollars. I mean, just selfishly saying that. And it also impacts our load. If we have students that are not coming in to study with us, then our load falls below a certain percentage, and then we get in trouble, basically. So I just kind of spent the summer talking with the entire faculty. We have 9 faculty in the jazz area, but Trey, Tyrone, and myself are the 3 full-time. And we just kind of got together as a trio, and then as the full 9-member faculty, decided, how can we offer a quality product to these kids where they're able to deliver content while being basically non-face-to-face. So we have performative ensembles that can't rehearse together. What are we going to do? And all of us on the jazz faculty spent the bulk of our summer changing our income stream from performing live to recording. And it really forced us to hone our home studio skills and hone our ability to use a digital audio workstation and get good mics and good sounds and sound baffles and all kinds of things just to make our home offices sound like a studio. So that's the kind of the idea we decided to go with the students. We encouraged them all to get the bare minimum of equipment that they needed. A lot of it is free, like Macintosh native software is GarageBand, PC native is Audacity, so they don't have to spend any money on their DAW, and they can get a decent mic for under $200 and an interface. And we really just kind of walked them through how to create content that way. And for the larger ensembles, what I did was create click tracks with all the repertoire that we were doing with a track of just vocal cues saying, okay, here's letter A, here's letter B, and so on. And then we would just literally stack from the rhythm section to the lead players and then fill in with the rest of the ensemble, and then come back, mix it, and master it in my case, Logic. And then I would just submit it to the school for them to broadcast the night of the concert. So it was still we still delivered a concert, but the kids never saw one another. They were all literally doing this in their rooms. And it was a huge learning curve for me, but I got substantially better at it from the second concert. And it really has turned into something quite fun, and the kids are absolutely on board with it. And we didn't lose a single student.
Wow.
We had no attrition through this, which was really quite good.
That's incredible, actually.
So I'm going to just kind of pass the ball to Trey, because Trey has kind of initiated a series of master classes and a lot of really cool things to keep the kids engaged and involved, and also a couple of important master classes that really got the students off the ground in the recording process.
Right. I just make a comment that
Please.
Kurt Rosenwinkel is our current cover story, and part of that, he talks about the 60-piece orchestra that they put together utilizing the same kind of technologies and what was going on. And apparently they was very successful for them. And it's exciting that you didn't lose one student. And I can tell you that the amount of technology that I've had to learn to put this magazine together, I mean, it's mind-boggling. So those kids, and I'm also a student again down at Georgia State in the acting department, and all the technology that I have to work with is driving me a little bit nuts. But the education that they're getting, not only on their instrument, their guitar, their piano, their saxophone, the whole thing, the education they're getting managing all of this new technology is really, really important in today's market. I can tell you because I'm dealing with it myself.
Oh,
this is very, very cool. Trey, let me turn that over to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, as you said, this technology is really important, and this is content that I've always wanted to figure out a way to incorporate into the School of Music, and I felt it was a real hole in terms of understanding audio production and so on and so forth. So we also knew that in addition, in the jazz combo area, which I direct, and Tyrone teaches a couple combos for us, I knew that they were going to need outside instruction for the audio elements. That we're more than capable of teaching them the jazz repertoire and how to perform, but as far as understanding audio production, we really wanted to bring in some experts. So we've had master classes from drummer and engineer Marlon Patton, where he really walked through, here's how to do this for super cheap. You got $40 and you want to buy a USB microphone, great. All the way up to more advanced studio setups. And then we followed that up with two master classes from the Bailey Center, which is our concert hall, and the staff there, including Mark Facito, facilitated these great master classes on how to get a good sound out of your instrument, what different kinds of mics to use, mic placement, and then a basic primer into understanding the tools of audio production, including mixing. Although we just wanted to introduce them to that as faculty, we're sort of handling a lot of that kind of on our own.
Right. Well, of course, I know Marlon, and I've done work in his studio, and obviously for those of you who don't know Marlon Patton, he's a gifted percussionist / drummer, and he plays a lot of other instruments as well, but he's also a gifted engineer. So,
yeah.
And so he not only does he know the instruments, he's a great musician. I mean, the recording process, but he's also a great musician and can really. So what a tremendous coup or get that was for you guys, and what a great get for the students to be exposed to his knowledge.
It's really been awesome, and out of all of us, I think Sam and I had dabbled in this before, but now we've sort of taken the full plunge. But Tyrone has always had a studio set up at his house, and in fact, when we switched to COVID, the first person to hire me to record a track was actually Tyrone. So,
what are you gonna say, buddy?
Well, I was gonna say that it first starts from our leadership, from Sam, and then to Trey as well. These cats have been really on one accord of getting the plan together. And I think that was like the most important thing, is to get the plan together. And Sam and Trey both submitted it to our higher ups. And we made sure that we had the conveniences of what we would do in the regular classroom to filter into recording. And one of the hardest things about recording, as Trey said before, I had been doing it for a while and had my own home studio set up. But what most musicians don't understand is there's a delineation between a performing musician and a recording musician. And the metronome doesn't lie, the tape doesn't lie. So to be able to instruct kids on how to consolidate a file, how to take a file and bounce it down to maybe a wave file, 4816 or 4824, what's the differences in that?
Right.
And I really got to say, Kennesaw, our School of Music, and our whole the whole university has embraced it. The Bailey Center, with the master classes we have, and one of the things that we're doing as well is assembling, like Trey said, our combo concerts. And the kids are really being proactive about putting all this content together, making sure they have a good take, making sure there's no air in the background, and like you said, Bob, I think they already are up on the technology, but not on the premium excellence of the technology. And so that's where it comes in, where we can help say, hey, well, you have to clean this up, or let's do this A section over, or you have to consolidate this file, or you have to do something, or do some punches. That's where it really comes into play.
Absolutely. And there's no doubt about it. There's a big difference between playing on the stage and playing in the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell on myself, but I'm a shining example of that and the challenges that you have when you're doing that.
But Bob, I think it helps for kids also in recording to find out what their role is in the band as well. Because I think without recording, they just go through the motions of playing with each other. But when you have to lay down a drum track first, and you have no other track to give you form,
right?
And say I have a guitar player and a piano player, which I wrote an article about that. If you have a guitar player and a piano player in a group, now the guitar player or the piano player has to figure out where they fit in within the groove. Right. And that's, the light is really shown on that when you have to record something. Sometimes when you play and it can get washed, but I think this attention to detail really is helping them to realize what their role is in the band, especially from the rhythm section perspective.
Well, let me put a little pin in this for just a second. For those of you who are familiar with the magazine, Tyrone Jackson is the author of the articles that I asked him to write, which is, what do piano players wish what do piano players wish the guitar players knew? And those are some of the most popular articles. He's done 2 of them so far for us. And those are some of the most popular articles that we've had in our 2.5, almost 3 years of publication. So, Tyrone speaks to that very, very well. And, it's funny you say that, because in, some of the interviews I've had recently with some of the players, I mean, that's a big discussion point with them in the recording process, and where do people fit, and where in the bandwidth am I now, and all that kind of thing. And what I see from younger musicians is the process of them learning that. You see them when they're 18, 19, 20, and then you see them when they're 21, 22, 23, and there's a nice maturation and more space, I think, in the music as they get older, and they're not always playing all the time. Whether guitar players are really guilty of that, aren't they, Trey?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
not your students, I'm sure. So let's talk about I know you've got some performances that are coming up, the virtual performances, I guess I'll call them that, and we will list that on the video. I'm very excited that you guys are doing this. I'm really excited and encouraged that during this time of craziness, let's just call it that you guys have figured out a way to to be valid and to, and to bring something of value, to the students, and they're excited about it. I just think it's fantastic, and I'm glad we had this opportunity to chat about it today. Is there anything else you'd like to bring up while we're here? We've got a few more minutes.
I would just like to say, to piggyback on what Sam said earlier, I mean, when we met this summer, there were so many unknowns. There were new studies coming out constantly about, distances between horns and this and that. And we just sort of looked at this and said, well, our main focus should be on safety.
Oh, yeah.
And then when we came up with this model of incorporating remote recording, we realized that this is such a great opportunity for them to develop a new skill set.
Right.
And as Tyrone said, and make mistakes while they're doing it, and
right.
have that feedback from us, so that when they graduate, this is something that they already have experience in.
Right.
Versus Sam and I, this summer trying to fiddle about and figure out, well, how does this work and whatever. We're hoping that our students graduate with another skill set that will really set them further ahead.
I absolutely, positively, 100% agree. I just think I think it's tremendous. And, as I said earlier, speaking as a guy that's trying to learn this skill set himself,
mm-hmm.
This will bode them well for decades, to get these things underneath their, they'll learn how to, how to market themselves better, how to, all the things. I won't go into for everybody with it, but there's so much to be learned by getting not only your instrument, but, how to put all these things together. And as Tyrone was saying, finding your space and all of that. I mean, it's tremendous. It really is. And it's, if there's a silver lining to this mess, if you will, that's what it is right there. That otherwise, they would have probably never been exposed to all these things that they've had to be exposed to make their education valid. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to piggyback on that. That's a good segue into, I really wanted to acknowledge and thank our chair, our dean, for being so supportive, because we were under the impression that we were going to have to do a 75-25 modality, 75 in person, 25 virtual. Well, that works great for any other area of the entire university except for the School of Music, because we're literally super spreaders. And so that's why I dug into all these articles about, aerosols and things that are going on, and really tried to bring the point home that we are not, if we're rehearsing in person, we're not doing it safely, and we're putting everybody, including our families, at risk. Here is a modality that we can use that we think the students will really hang on to and benefit from. And as a result, the university has been very generous in buying us. We have the drum studio is already set up with a Focusrite interface with multiple microphones. All their laptop right into it, and they're ready to record. We've gotten great support financially from that. And I've just ordered another probably half dozen USB microphones for students that just can't afford them. They can always check them out from the university, and they've got something. And we've had no pushback from our administration in terms of getting this for them.
Well, as I was saying earlier, I've had a little experience with the previous, I don't know if it's the previous administration who's there now, but I mean, they're first rate. You got a great school out there, and it's no surprise to me that it's doing so well. It's just a thrill for me to get a chance to talk to you today. So I appreciate it. Kennesaw State University, check them out. That's it for me, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye.